to welcome you to the garage.
That's what's up. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got started with DJing?
Man. Well, I've been on music basically since birth. Let me see. So I'll tell you a little story right quick. It's basically when I was about 3, 4, 5 years old, my father, he used to smoke weed, listen to music. So basically I picked up them traits at that age where it was like catching contacts, listening to music, absorbing it like an adult. So by the time I was 5 and 6, I'm already looking for people's albums to come out that he would go buy, like the Isley Brothers, Brothers Johnson, Doobie Brothers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would say about like 1980, my parents got divorced, late 80. About 81, my mother bought a component set for me and my brother so we'd have something to listen to. So at that time, she got remarried, and my stepfather told me about this man named Electrifying Mojo.
What is it?
A popular Detroit DJ named the Electrifying Mojo.
Okay.
He was what would be the equivalent of I couldn't even say Kid Capri or nothing like that, but he was very popular in Detroit. He was the only DJ to interview Prince. Out of anybody, he was the only DJ to interview Prince on the radio. So that's how big he was.
Oh.
So anyhow, he told me about him, and this is like about the summer '81. I started learning how to mix records from listening to him, like with an 8-track and records.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna fast forward to like 1984. I'm going to these Sky Hops with my homeboy James, and I'm just staring at the DJ all night, which was the DJ's US Funk Mob, Daryl McClown, Rodney Taylor, Coffee Bean, his brother, Daryl Phillips, and Chris McClown. They was all DJing at the Sky Hop, so I would just be there like, one day I'm gonna do this, one day I'm gonna do this. So, come 1985, that's when everything just started happening as far as the actual DJ.
Yeah.
Like, I learned how to mix on 2 turntables in the spring of '85. We would go around, me and my homeboys would go around the city looking for house parties, and we'd ride our bikes, and I have records with me, and we'll go to the parties like, hey, do y'all got this? You got this? If y'all don't hear, y'all can play these records.
Yeah.
So that's how about the DJing started, and that was with me and my boy DJ Lost Lee. So I don't know if that answered the question. You want me to keep going or?
Well, yeah, keep going. Like we're in 85, you know.
So 1985, we hear about this place called the Kent Center where all the teenagers would go kick it at. So it would be at least like 10 to 15 of us from our neighborhood. We had a ritual, a routine. But first off, we went to the Kent Center the first time. Nobody was really dancing. And the DJ, his name was Roland Reddick. Now at the time, he was a little older, so he didn't know really what to play for the kids. So I was like, hey, if I come here next week and bring some records, would you play them? And he was like, yeah. So he did that. Next week, I was like, hey, can I play them? And he was like, yeah. So it started there. The next week, I asked him, can I scratch on this stuff? And he was like, no, it ain't made for that. And I'm like, yeah, you can scratch on your stuff. All you got to do is put these plastic sleeves under the mats and it'll work. So it worked. So from like October of '85 to about March of '86, I'm doing the Kent Center every week. But don't nobody know who I am because I'm so young. I was only like 15 when we started, going out like that. So all the older people that was already in the game was like, who is this little dude coming up here, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But it basically started at the Kent Center with 2 turntables. But I was mixing records already, like with pause button mixtapes from like '81 to about '84.
Yeah, but when the records came out, you was at
Well,
the,
2 turntables, because the thing was that it went from mixing on a 8-track cartridge, not no cassette, not no. I learned how to mix on an 8-track
yeah.
and records, you know, and I was recording the mixes to another 8-track. Then my boy would bring his boombox over with a cassette deck, and it had an auxiliary, so I could run the 8-track to the cassette to make the mixes on cassette. So it's like, you know, but anyway, with the turntables, it was like 1985. And stuff like escalated quickly after that. Because at the time we had a crew of people. See, I could tell you that story too, but we had a crew called the High Tech Crew, which comprised of people from all sides of town, which would be like people that went to Libby, Macumber, Scott, Rogers, and we would all come together, and we would go DJ these parties all over the city, whether it was at, you know, a hall or somebody's house.
Well, kind of like the core DJs, like.
I guess you could say that, even though it's a different time period.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that not necessarily a core DJ thing. It would have been more like Public Enemy. Because we had people in the crew that danced, we had people in the crew that rapped, people in the crew that made beats. Yeah. All of this come together, and rappers and beatboxers, we all together going to these parties. And we having a party within our own party at the party.
Oh.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
but everybody had a role to play in our crew. So it was like my brother and a couple of my homeboys, they would get girls to start dancing with them. Then when it was time for our crew to start rapping, they'd be like, hey man, it's time for us to get on the mic. We ready to get on the mic. So my man Steve and my man Jerry and Carlos, they had a crew. And me and my boy DJ Lost Lee was a DJ crew. So when we came together, it was just like the nucleus of us just going to have parties and go DJ parties all over the city.
You just, artists basically coming together. Well, not when I say
wanna be artists, Future, like we didn't know what we was doing in hip hop, but we were creating it as we went along.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is all roots, ground floor level. And let me give a shout out first off to DJ Duro McGlown. He was the one who brought the actual hip hop style DJing, and with a guy named Jesse Cardell named JJ brought the fashion hip hop side to Toledo. Because that's one thing you always got to give props, and you know where your lineage just came from and all of that. So I definitely give props to the DJs that came before me.
Well, it's years. Like DJs that came before, like where was Lightning Rod? Was Lightning Rod coming up with you?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you that story.
Okay.
And this is exact fact. My man DJ Lost Lee went to Libby. Now Leo introduced me to a lot of people, and one of them was Rod.
Yeah.
So he was like, man, this dude named Rod that be wanting to DJ too. But he a little rough, you know, like wild. Not wild in a bad way, like, you know, Rod like ambitious, you know what I'm saying? So it was spring break weekend of 1986. Okay. We met, and it was a party, which is now what was called a 300 Club on Collingwood. And to be exact, like Houdini, the song called Funky Beat. This dude named Just Ice came out with this song, Latoya. It was a crew called the Gladiators of the Rhythmic Beat that was throwing this party. So anyway, me, Rod, my boy Leo, and about 8-9 of us walked to the 300 Club. We was kicking it, but then the promoter got robbed at the door and took the door money, so the party was over. So me, Rod, Leo, and everybody was walking home. Some man rolled by in a pickup truck, and we just hopped on the back of that mug, and he took us back to the neighborhood we was at. But that was the time I met Rod. So the thing with Rod was that we was all DJing together at one point. It was me, Leo, and Rod. We would call ourselves like the Three Amigos, I think.
Yeah.
So at that point, Rod, I think, and I can't speak for him, but I think like where he was living at, he was doing more parties like on the south end of town, on the east side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I say about like 1990, 91, I got to DJ at this place called Lodina's. And before that, they had a couple other DJs there, but I was there for a very short time. It's like up to about Thanksgiving of 1990, maybe September of 90, November. But then Rod started DJing there, and that's when he blew up. Because he was there, my cousin DJ Mix was his MC, and every Wednesday and Sunday, Lodina's would be packed.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I could tell you like some interesting stories, even just about that. Like, Rod is the reason, and he don't know or would admit it, but at one point, people started going out real late at night. Like, people wouldn't get to clubs till about 11, 11:30, and it was because of the fact that when skating was over, it was over about 12, 11, and Rod got tired of being in the spot DJing, ain't nobody there until such a time, so he started coming later, which made people come later. So it's all kind of stories, you know. But Rod came in right around that time, but we met, but we was always like, he was doing his thing before that. I think Rodstar might have been learning how to mix in 83, 84 too. We all was doing it, but we all met in 86. Spring break of 86 when we met.
Cause one thing I say that.
Oh, I gave him his name too. Just put it out there. I ain't tripping.
Oh,
he ain't
the Lightning Rod?
I gave Rod his name.
How did that come up?
Because basically his name was DJ Fresh when we met. And it was a record by a man named Lightning Rod. Yeah. He was a part of this group called The Last Poets. So anyway, he had an album come out. I was just like, man, that was too easy. Why he should have came up with Lightning Rod, because you know what I'm saying? It's like, name is Roderick, like Rod, short, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was like, and then on top of that though, Rod was sweet. He could scratch real fast, he could do all of that, so that's why Lightning, you know, it's like a natural fit. You know what I'm saying? Natural fit. But that's been my boy ever since we met.
Well, that's what, around your time, well, during the time that I was doing music, I think it was the biggest collab of DJing, you know what I'm saying, that I ever seen in the city.
Now, what year about was that?
I say 99 to...
Okay, so yeah, we fast forwarding a lot.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had to, you know, do a lot of fast forwarding, but about 88, I met this guy, Johnny. Name was DJ J-Rock. He was part of another crew. So he started coming around to the parties, and we eventually got cool around the summer of 88.
Okay.
When he was going off to start college. Yeah. And at this time, I got married and had a son at 18.
Okay.
So at that point, I would let Johnny use the equipment. Like, he went to Bowling Green, so we would take the equipment down here.
Wait, Johnny is
J-Rock.
Okay, DJ J-Rock.
J-Rock. So I might say they real names, or I might say they stay, but for the course of the interview. Yeah. So DJ J-Rock, we was cool since 88. Koch Boogie, there's a story. Koch Boogie initially was a dancer. He was a dancer, and they had a group called 3-Man Riot, I think, and him and this dude named Dax was dancers. So we had a talent show probably like 88, 89, and they was ripping it. We had a crew that had dancers. They was good too, but they was doing some shit that, damn, these motherfuckers are sweet. Yeah. You know, so fast forward, there's a guy named Mr. International. Now his name is Walt, but we call him Mr. International. His sister had something to do with the entertainment committee at Ohio State. So she put together a show with Troop, Redhead Kingpin, and asked her brother to be opening up, which he invited us to be part of the crew. So we all one big crew. So that's how I met Kaj during that time of us rehearsing for this show, which was in May of 1990.
Yeah.
So that's when me and Kaj. But when we met, he DJ'd a little too, but I mean like kind of like I was with a component set, but not in front of nobody.
Yeah.
So the thing was that, yeah, all of my spot, my basement was like ground zero for a lot of DJs to practice. It was me, Rod, eventually J-Rock, Kaj, Boogie. So fast forward to 1997. Now we throwing, prior to that, throwing parties all over the city. Like I was having New Year's Eve parties, Christmas Eve parties, just throwing our own events.
Yeah.
So at this point, the radio, a guy named Charlie Mack, and I'm going to tell you how all of this tie in together, which is crazy. But this guy, Charlie Mack, which was Charlie Chuck, veteran radio DJ here's son. Now, he came to me at this club and was like, man, we about to start a radio station. And would you want to do a show on there? I was like, hell yeah, So, like February of 97, that's when the Juice debuted on the air. And then I debuted on the Juice in April of 97. Now at this time, I was the only one featured.
Yeah.
So when I was able to get me a spot on the radio with a definite show, I pulled my crew in, which at that time was DJ J-Rock, DJ Kaj Boogie, DJ Small Guy, which I'm going to pull him up a little later. And DJ Lost Lee, my partner. It was like 5 of us.
Yeah, the one you started with.
Right.
Okay.
So at that point, we had a radio show every Saturday from 10 to 12. Yeah. And that would be from like maybe May or June of 97 to like July of 98.
Well, so when around that time, did DJ turn into from, like, what I'm saying, you just playing music, and then now you on the radio.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing. Well, no, kind of not.
Well, yeah and no. So the difference is with that is that on the radio, you're kind of like breaking new music. You're doing the same thing at parties too, but you kind of playing more of stuff that people know already. With the radio, you kind of got more freedom to play different things because it's not really a dance where people dancing and shit, where you could just play some stuff that sounds sweet.
Yeah.
So with that, when I was coming up DJing, the few DJs that would buy records, we were the curators of the music, meaning that you was only going to hear Eric B. and Rakim, KRS-One, Biz Markie, or any of them people, only if you went to the parties.
Yeah.
Now,
that's the way it continued for a long time, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, up until the radio came. So this is where the switch came. It's when the internet came. Mm-hmm. And then you had people that can choose their own form of music and what they listen to. So therefore, the DJ was no longer the person in control of the party per se. They could be.
Yeah.
But when you got somebody coming up to you asking for requests, or they heard it off on YouTube or phone or something like that, and you as a DJ might have a set or have some kind of music format that you want, but now you got to incorporate what they want to hear with your party to make it jump. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like I said, when in the beginning, y'all was coming to the parties to hear what we was playing. Now it's kind of like you DJing, but it's kind of like, I wouldn't say formatted, but you can't really stretch out because of where you might be at. You might be doing a 60 or 70-year-old birthday party, but you want to play something else, but you can't because you kind of like know what they want to hear, which is cool. But you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, it was like you had more control of what to play for the people.
You wasn't for hire back then.
No, not like, well, this is the thing. I had to turn into that because this was the thing. it was a break in the music, and it was a break in the age, right around like 91, 92, 93. Now, this is important. So at this time, about 88, 89, I started getting more involved with doing college parties, where I was at UT like almost every weekend doing a party for a sorority, fraternity, something like that. Yeah. So at this time, I'm a vinyl purist. Like, as far as like, if it ain't on record, I'm not playing it. And I'm gonna tell you an interesting story that happened too, about Master P. Yeah. So anyway, not only was it was a shift in where people went to party at, it was also a shift because people my age was turned like 21. They was old enough to drink, so they wasn't coming to the parties like they used to, because now they can go to clubs and stuff.
Well, on the campus?
Well, yeah, on campus and in the city, because we did a lot of city parties too.
Yeah.
So like 91, 92, about 93, it started breaking off. Now, why we mentioned Rod earlier, this is another important thing. Rod played stuff that wasn't on record. And he played stuff that was sweet, but it wasn't on record. Yeah. Like 8-Ball, MJG, Mystical, all of this down south for stuff that had instruments and all of that. He would play that stuff at Lodina's.
On CD.
If it was on CD, if it was a cassette, whatever it was, yeah. If he felt it, he played it on there. So he developed his own niche for the type of music he was playing. Then he had my cousin Mix hyping the crowd up. So it was like a perfect match. He had his own spot. He played what he wanted to play. And, so at that point, I decided to start going for an older market. So I started basically throwing things for, like, organizations like the Scott Boosters or bowling leagues. And I started getting them kind of cabarets. So I went more to the cabarets and the older type crowd. And what Rod did and other DJs, they stuck more to what our age group was listening to.
Yeah.
So for the most part, that's where like a split came as far as music, as far as demographics and age and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then keep in mind, this community was small, man. Y'all got to keep in mind, this was before social media.
The DJing community?
All of that. Dude, if we had a party, we had to go to every high school before school let out and get somebody to make the flyer first. Then go get 200-300 copies made, stand in front of schools passing out flyers. No cell phones, you had to go home. The girls call their girls like, you going to the party Friday? You going to this club Saturday? And stuff like that. So that's basically how people communicated and got to these parties. Excuse me. And then like I say NWA 12-inch came out. It might only been like 5 copies. So if you wasn't one of the DJs to get the copy, you shit. But that's really how it started. It wasn't no videos. It wasn't no MTV raps. It was like, no, we going to these parties because they going to be playing all this hip-hop stuff. And then it spread it to the schools. So I'm DJing homecomings, proms, and I'm still in high school, and I'm DJing other schools' proms and homecomings.
So that's when you start charging?
Well, no. Yeah. But the first time I got paid, see, this is the thing. I didn't even know you could get paid for DJing. It was from love of music and wanting to be seen, because it was just about wanting to be seen and get some girls. That was it.
Yeah.
Dude, after about the 4th week at the Kent Center, Rolling Reddit gave me $10. And I was like, what's this for? He like, you get paid to DJ. And I was like, you could get paid to do this? Yeah. After that, I was hooked. It was like, job, what's that? You know what I'm saying? It was like, no, I'm DJing. You can get paid to DJ too. Then, as we getting older, or like 17, 18, I'm watching the other people, promoters, throw events. So I'm like, well, I could do that too. So I started throwing my own parties at 17, 18. My mom would rent out the halls. We would put the flyers out. So I was making some good money for a few years just throwing parties, you know.
Yeah.
But the DJ community was small. We went through a lot of stuff to bring this, you know, this form of entertainment to Toledo without even knowing what we was doing. We was just doing it.
Yeah.
And it also transformed not only from DJing, but I done made records. I done did everything to a record you could do. Produce them, make them, sell them, mix them, whatever it is to do. Promote artists. I mean, I covered the gamut.